What is up, everybody? As I check the clock and I see it is 3:32 here in the Central Plains, and as you know, we are on week 6 already of the college football show. This is gonna be an exciting episode, so get your popcorn ready and get your favorite beverage because we got some football to talk about. As you know, I'm joined with my two lovely co-hosts. Say what's up, y'all.
What up, world?
What's
It's your boy
up?
Chooch. Back again. Another wonderful episode. And we got some matchups for y'all this week. Let me tell you, this was an easy week to pick games. Like
Yes,
the last
it
couple weeks
was.
been complete garbage for us. Midway through the season, it's finally picking up. Where last year I feel like we didn't have a bad week. Maybe one in the middle of the season because no one cared.
I was gonna
But-
say probably like week 2, and that was
Yeah.
about it.
About it. This year, it's been a slow season, and we finally got some good games for you. We got some underdogs too.
Yes.
It's gonna be a fun one.
Well, it will be a fun one, and let's start off on the game from Friday coming up. A Big Ten matchup. Nebraska taking on the Fighting Illini of Illinois. And these two teams' seasons have been, let's just say, for a lack of a better term, not how everybody expected. Illinois 2-3, Nebraska 2-3. Ultimately, since it is in Champaign, Illinois, Illinois is a 3.5-point favorite. Not a lot of love with the offenses, as the over-under line is only 42.5, which indicates lots of defense in this battle. Coach Rule needs this win, and so does Brett Bielema. But who ends up taking this one home, Chooch? What do you say? Oh, you're muted. You're muted.
I forgot. I do that just to kind of block out any noise. So yeah, listen, Matt Rule and his gentlemen really got a plan coming together. I think the team's finally starting to roll a little bit. You know, I know last week 45-7, but that's Michigan, and Illinois is no Michigan. Nebraska can keep this one close. They might be able to eke out a win here, but ultimately, I think Illinois' just offense overpowers Nebraska's stout defense because they're on the field for 90% of the football game.
All right, Jacob.
You see, it's weird because both of these teams aren't doing their greatest right now. You know, they could be a lot better with where they're positioned as in the league right now. But I just think that this is the bounce back that Nebraska needs. I think the Cornhuskers are going to take the win here against Illinois.
Oof. Wrong pick today. Give me
What?
the Illinois Fighting Illini, because let me tell you why.
Dare you?
Brett Bielema, he's the difference. I think he outcoaches Matt Rule in this game, and I have a lot of respect for Matt Rule, but this is a huge moment for Illinois, and they have to beat Nebraska if they want to keep any hopes of a outside shot of a Big Ten title appearance. As for Nebraska, if you're not there in the Big Ten title, it's not as big for you this year. Next year, though, that might be a different story. So yeah, give me the Fighting Illini getting a huge victory here. Plus, I think the run game is going to be the difference. All right, moving on to the next one here, we got a fun one in the Big 12. The Kansas State Wildcats head in to take on the Cowboys from Oklahoma State. And somebody please check on Mike Gundy. 2 weeks in a row, 2 embarrassing losses. You get stomped on by South Alabama 2 weeks ago, and then last week you get pretty much exposed on a national scale to Iowa State out of all teams, which honestly it doesn't get much worse in the Big 12. Kansas State, on the other hand, they lost to Missouri off of a huge kick, and then they bounced back, took care of business against UCF at home. But now the question is, can they win on the road? They only had one game on the road so far, and they ended up losing that game. Boone is going to be living in this late night game, 6:30 kickoff Central. Ultimately, though, Vegas does not care about Kansas State's road woes, and says they are a heavy favorite in this one, 12-point favorite. Chooch, are you going to give Gundy some hope this week?
No. Listen, I think
No.
I've been kind of reiterating this for the last couple of years. Mike Gundy can't do anything with the talent he's got. Get him out. Oklahoma State should be one of the top teams in the Big 12 every year. They should be fighting Texas, Kansas State, and Oklahoma. Well, Texas and Oklahoma are going after this year, but you get what I'm saying, though, right?
Right.
They should be fighting for that every year. They've always been that. They were little brother to Oklahoma, always lost to Oklahoma because they couldn't finish it out. But now you have a chance to step up, and you're just blowing it. You've been here for how long, and you've played second fiddle to Texas and Oklahoma and Kansas State, and you have a chance to take that spot, and you're just going to blow it. Blow it. In Oklahoma State, when is mediocre enough? How long is it going to take? Kansas State found a way. They've been bad. They were bad for 2 seasons. 2. So I'm taking Kansas State here. Oklahoma State can't do anything at home. Apparently, I mean, look at South Alabama. So Kansas State's defense is better than that. Taking the Cats.
All right. This is probably the only game that it took me a second to like, oh, which one does who does win this game? I don't know why this game was it. Because I look at Will Howard, Kansas State starting quarterback, and I cannot tell if he's good or not with the stats that he's bringing on the table. Because he has, he has 1,072 yards, which it's pretty good, especially when you're running heavy offense with DJ Giddens, and then you have 8 touchdowns, that's pretty good, but then 4 interceptions, like 4 interceptions in week 6, coming into week 6. That's pretty bad. So that was a factor of like, who does win this game, but this team around him is gonna take this game. DJ Giddens is too good. Treshaun Ward's too good, and Ben Sinnott is doing really good right now. I know I said really good and good like 5 times, but yeah, give me the Kansas State Wildcats taking the dub against Oklahoma.
Good pick. Kansas State wins this game, but let me tell you something, folks. Oklahoma State is going to show up, and they're going to fight in this game for 4 quarters. This is not going to be, your typical Oklahoma State lays down. They're going to fight. This game is going to be close, but ultimately Kansas State with that rushing attack with Giddens, he's enough in this game. And I think Will Howard will do an okay job kind of managing this game and have a little bit of a bounce back from last week. I know he had 1 pick against UCF and that really kind of hurt the momentum for him, but I think he has a bounce back and ultimately kind of looks back to the good Howard that we're used to seeing. All right, well, let's move on to the next one here. Another, count it, 2. Oh my God. 2. Big Ten matchups this early in the show. We're not used to that. As Maryland comes rolling into the horseshoe and Ohio State, everything to prove in this game. They're number 4. And they already have a big-time win under their belt. They ended up beating Notre Dame in South Bend off of a last-second run. Meanwhile, Maryland, nobody's talking about them. Nobody's giving them respect. They're a 20-point dog in the horseshoe. Let me say that just one more time. 20 points, and they're undefeated. The disrespect is unreal. But I think the big thing that comes with it is, can Coach Locke for Maryland win a big game? Can Tagovailoa get it together for a big game? We've seen him do okay in the past, just not necessarily do enough to win a game like this. Can he do enough this time, Chooch? What do you think?
So I really want to say yes. I've said yes the last 2 seasons, right? But they always prove me wrong. I pick Ohio State to do this thing. I mean, pick Maryland to do this thing, and they never do it. They never show up, never keep it close. I learned my lesson. Ryan Day is doing a better job of this team than we thought he was going to. So I'm going to take Ohio State here in a close one. I think Maryland keeps it close and earns everyone's respect, but Ohio State, close one. Maryland's offense is going to give Ohio State's defense fits all game. But you're in the horseshoe.
No. I think everyone can tell who writes these banners now since this happened. But since you even brought up the point, Maryland's defense, Maryland's offense is going to be way too much. Not way too much. It's going to give Ohio State's defense a run for its money. It's going to give them a struggle. And that's why Maryland has the defense to contain Ohio State's offense. Now, Ohio State is going to lose this game. I without a doubt, Ohio State is going to lose against Maryland. Maryland is just a better team overall, and I know that's what everyone was saying last week when they fought Notre Dame. But this team really does have the potential to beat Ohio State. It doesn't take a lot to beat them. If I'm being honest. So, give me Maryland to whoop Ohio State, please.
A guy's team wins 2 years in a row after losing 15 straight or something like that. Automatically, it's just.
You're a Giants fan.
College, what's that gonna do?
All right, so
you're an LSU fan.
More recent national championship.
So on to this game though, and I'm just gonna say, Ohio State, you can't discredit this team. I mean, they have done a tremendous job. They have done a tremendous job of rising to the occasion time and time again. However, this is the time for Coach Locke to get his first big win. Tagovailoa is finally going to get the job done here in the horseshoe. This is the first of many upsets, in my opinion. Give me the Terps on the road. Stuns the Buckeyes.
Is it really surprising, though?
Yes.
Like, come on now.
You're in the horseshoe. It's automatic. It's 10 times harder to play there. Everyone knows that. And Maryland, the last 3 times they played Ohio State, have been undefeated or a one-loss team, gone into Ohio State or played Ohio State and gotten their shit whomped.
All right, let's roll into the next one here. Our first SEC matchup of the show. The Fighting Tigers of LSU head in and take on the Tigers of Missouri. I guess you could call this the Tiger Bowl. Nobody would be upset about it. And it's a tale of 2 Tigers. LSU, if you watched the show last night, you know my feelings. Just a complete letdown a week ago against Ole Miss. Defense looked like they never knew how to play. But there is a good statistic for the Tigers of LSU. When they lose, they don't lose 2 in a row. They have not in quite a while. So keep that in mind. As for Missouri, they are a program on the rise, undefeated this year with notable wins against Memphis and Kansas State. And of course, last week on the road in an SEC environment, beating Vanderbilt, which, I mean, really not much of a home field advantage, but still, it's an SEC team on the road. With all that considered, Vegas says LSU will bounce back. They're a 4-point favorite at Missouri. No respect for Missouri and Eli Drinkowitz. Believe me, he will have his team ready. The question is, will Brian Kelly have the Tigers of LSU ready? Chooch, what do you think?
So I have good news. In this rivalry, the 3 games we've played against each other, not rivalry, but, matchup, the 2 games we've lost by less than 6 points. And when we win, we've won by 34. So, what are we going to get here? Who knows? LSU could play the same defense as last week. They could, same offense could show up. Maybe we look like Ole Miss out there. Who knows? But the question lies, how does Mizzou handle a probably very angry LSU team? I think LSU edges this one out. I think we win a close one, Cole. I'm taking the Tigers.
All right.
So, you are right about that. LSU has a bit of a history, especially this season, with losing a game and then bouncing back and winning big next game. We same with week 1. And I think we're going to do a repeat here with last week's loss to Ole Miss. So, go Tigers. Go Tigers.
Oh, man. This game is hard for me to pick because I love LSU. Love LSU. Anybody who's ever watched the show, they know that. But I gotta say the facts. Missouri looks like a ass-kicking team. They look like they're ready. They look like this is their time to shine. But when you give Missouri spotlight, or any team for that matter who's not used to it, they fold. And for that reason alone, I'm going with LSU. Everything
Okay.
points to Missouri in this game. But I'm just saying that fact alone, LSU, Brian Kelly will bounce back. And I think this defense is going to be a little bit better than last week. That's my hope. So yeah, give me LSU road. It feels like an upset, but shockingly, it's the favorite. So LSU road favorite victory, not road upset. All right, next game here, we got another Big Ten matchup. I don't know. We might as well just call this show the Big Ten show at this point. Rutgers goes on the road to Camp Randall, and this is not like typical Rutgers. They're 4-1. Let me just reiterate that one more time. 4-1. Rutgers. That is unbelievable. Normally at this point they're 2-2, 2-3, but only one loss, and that came to Michigan. Wisconsin, on the other hand, 3-1. Their only loss came to Washington State on the road, and it was pretty close. So far, everything seems to be going well, minus the loss for Luke Fickell, and he's really got Badger Nation believing Camp Randall is going to be going out of their minds in this one, and Wisconsin is a 13-point favorite at home. However, when nobody seems to look at Rutgers in a game that, it's tightly contested, neither team's ranked, weather conditions, you never know how that's going to be. Be careful. That's all I'm urging you guys. Be careful with this one. Chooch, where are you going with this?
So I have, as we know, I'm a fan of Wisconsin, right? I'm a fan of this, the best ranked defense the last 20 years in college football. If anyone didn't know that, it's Wisconsin. It's the Badgers. The quarterback play is a little inconsistent still. The running game takes a while to get going in Wisconsin. With that being said, Rutgers' offense is just gone. Go. So I think they had just went out in Camp Randall. I think this is a very close game. I think Rutgers is in a better place. I think the offense is better. I think the defense will have better plays and contain this Wisconsin offense. So I'm taking the Scarlet Knights. I know I probably shouldn't, but I'm taking them.
All right.
I have to go Wisconsin here. I don't have much faith in Rutgers, if I'm being honest. I know that they're 3-1,
4-1.
4-1. Yeah, sorry. But Wisconsin is a confusing team because in all of their games so far, they've scored over 30 points. And you look at their quarterback, if I can remember his name. Tanner Mordecai, and he's not doing good. He only has 2 touchdowns with 3 interceptions, and it's week 6. But Braylon Allen, wow. What a beast of a man. 6 touchdowns, average of 7.1 yards, and has 371 yards so far. Plus, Ches Maluzzi, I hope I'm saying that right, is popping off right now. And this team, the offense around this team, plus the receiving core is really good as well, with like Chimari Dyke and Will Pauling and stuff like that. So I just think that this team is going to do really good against Rutgers, and this offense is just too much for the Rutgers to handle.
All right. I like it. So I'm going to bring up 2 stats here. Wisconsin averages 201.8 rushing yards throughout the year. That's pretty good. This defense only gives up 118.5 rushing yards this whole year. And what is Rutgers' main MO in this game, you might be asking? It's the ground game. They're balanced, but they definitely a more running team. So for that reason, I'm going with Luke Fickell in Wisconsin to be able to outlast the Rutgers onslaught because I think it will be like that. They're going to be motivated for a good, 2 quarters, not necessarily till half, a little bit before that. And then Wisconsin just does what they do. Braylon Allen, like you were mentioning, and this defense is what wins Wisconsin this game. So give me the Badgers at home. All right, next one here, a battle in Virginia at Scott Stadium. And let's just say for Virginia, this is kind of the year to where, if you're a Cavalier fan, you might not even just want to watch anymore. Um, it's been rough. But William and Mary comes knocking on the door, number ninth ranked in the FCS. Nobody's giving them any respect, though. They just say, that's inferior competition. Nobody cares. ESPN even has it 85.5% pick Virginia in this game, despite nothing showing that they have a chance to win this game, other than notoriety. With that being considered, not too many people care about this game, but Chooch, I know this game hits deep in your heart. Where are you going with this?
Listen, man, as much as I want to commend, say this is every season for Virginia in the last 6 seasons has been awful, and I think the gap's closed enough from FCS schools to like lower tier FBS schools now. I'm not saying Virginia's lower tier one. I just don't think the talent's there right now. I think William Mary's defense is going to give Virginia's a bit of a fit. Yes, William Mary lost to Elon last week, but 14-7 against a team that's played two or three very good FBS teams. Someone's going to have learned something by then. So I'm going to take William & Mary in a close one in Charlottesville.
Yeah, I agree that's going to be a close one too, because all of UVA's games so far have been pretty close, only losing by a couple of points. I'm also going to take William & Mary. Unfortunately, I do want to root for Virginia, but this season it's going down the toilet. I have to be honest. It's not looking good for UVA. William & Mary, man, have fun against Virginia.
Well, so this is going to be a little bit of a flip the script here. One of my friends a few weeks ago said Boston College is going to lose to Holy Cross. That didn't happen. It was close, though. And I said, you're crazy. Boston College is going to win. They're the better team. They play in the better conference. I'm flipping that. William and Mary wins this game over Virginia. And the reason is because these guys are good. They're underrated. They're being overlooked. And if they can pull this out, which I think they will, this is going to be a huge, hey, FCS schools, like Chooch was saying, the gap is closed. The FCS can hang around in a game like this.
Yep.
So, yeah, give me William and Mary.
And the point to that is, look at James Madison. Last year, first year in the FBS. This year, second year, they beat Virginia Tech. They lost to Virginia Tech, right?
Yeah, they
lost a close one to Tech, but they beat Virginia. Guys, we can't make this up.
No. As much as we wish we were. Well, at least for me, I like the gap, but no more.
And NIL's changed the landscape. We've had this conversation before. NIL's changing the whole landscape. I don't think FBS, FCS is going to matter here soon. Just my personal opinion. I mean, why not? All these other FCS schools got D1 things everywhere else, so why not just merge it all together and make it like basketball?
And I think the transfer portals helped a lot with that, too.
Exactly, because Verse with
Florida
State. He's from Albany, from right down the road from me, literally 15 minutes that way. You know, we got guys coming from all over the place that are JUCO guys, FCS guys that are balling out in these top tier FBS schools. Like it's the landscape's changing. NIL's helping it all, and yeah, the transfer portal is too.
Speaking of changing, let's hop into this next one here. Washington State goes on the road and takes on UCLA, and Washington State undefeated so far, but they have not been really tested on the road. Their only road game was against Colorado State. They beat Wisconsin at home, they beat Oregon State at home, UCLA, kind of a hostile environment. They only lost to Utah by 7. And yet, if you look at the spread, that's kind of what the thought is. UCLA is a 3-point favorite here at home. Chip Kelly is kind of has a pretty good track record in pulling off this type of game. Not to mention, the Pac-12 is so unpredictable right now. It seems like one team's really good, then they play somebody else and they lose. All the indicators are pointing for a UCLA victory here, but keep this in mind. Mr. Ward for Washington State has been the story. 13 touchdowns, over 1,000 yards. He's been incredibly safe with the ball. No interceptions or turnovers. Just want to sprinkle that in there before you make your pick. This game, huge implications for both teams in the Pac-12. Chooch, where are you leaning with this one?
Well, and like you said, Chip Kelly has a track record of pulling these games off, but Chip Kelly also has a track record of losing these games.
True.
And Washington State's better than they are. I said this, I think, 3 weeks ago. Ward's a hell of a quarterback. Kick and throw. Kick and do. He's taking care of it. That's what they need. Moore, he's a first-year kid, right?
Yep, first-year kid.
And listen, I'm not going to sit here and knock Chip Kelly. He puts together a hell of a team, but I think Washington State's in a better spot. I think the offense is freaky, and the defense, they always got athletes on that defense. So Washington State in a good game.
All right. I'm gonna pick UCLA here, and this defense on this team is I just think stacked. And we're going to week 6. They've only let up 44 points, which
Wow.
not as good as like some other defenses, but considering where UCLA is at, only letting up 44 points is pretty good. Darius, dude, I hate names that I cannot pronounce. It comes every episode. I can never pronounce names.
Join the club.
Darius Mawazo, though, and Kane Madrano, basically like the leaning people on this linebacking core, like the captains of this linebacking core. Just these stats are insane when you look at them. This defense is gonna take this victory here against Washington State.
All right. So I do want something to be considered here, and this kind of piggybacks off of what Jacob said. This defense is really good. 77.8 rushing yards allowed per game. That's the average for UCLA. That's incredible. I know Washington State is a more pass-happy team. So how's the pass defense? 186 is the average per game. That's pretty good. Now, keep this in mind too. Washington State defensively is not all that great. They're over 250 yards passing allowed. And for rushing allowed, they're over 130. With all that being considered, Chip Kelly being in a spot to win these games and it's home, give me UCLA in the upset here. Even though, again, I know the line says 3 for UCLA. It feels like an upset. It's not really an upset. But yeah, no, I'm rolling with the Bruins at home. All right, moving on to yet another SEC game here. We got the 2:30 kickoff CBS coverage. The Crimson Tide of Alabama roll in and take on Texas A&M in Aggieland, and this might surprise some folks. Alabama's only a 1-point favorite against an unranked Texas A&M team. Let me know the last time that has happened, because since I've been alive, that doesn't happen very often. So take a screenshot. It might last longer than that does. With all things being considered, Jalen Milroe seems to be the guy for the Tide, as he has 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and he has bounced back tremendously since that Texas loss at home. obviously beating Ole Miss and Mississippi State since then. Texas A&M, they've been looking pretty good in their own right. They beat Auburn, a team who hung around with Georgia a week ago, and they manhandled Auburn. And then they played Arkansas and had some shaky moments, but ultimately pulled it out in that rivalry game. The only thing is, Connor Wigman, that bites. Him not being there, but Max Johnson has seemed to step in and really make a difference with this team. We'll start with you, Chooch. Who wins this battle in the SEC?
Didn't Max get hurt last week?
No, I did not see that if he did.
I thought he did, but anyways, listen, folks. There's a reason why Bama's favored by so little against Texas A&M right now, and I'm going to tell you why that is. Nick Saban can't beat Jimbo Fisher in College Station, right?
Yep, College
Yeah.
Station.
Yeah, can't be. I want to say College Park for some reason. I don't know why. College Station. I mean, the track record proves it. Jimbo has Nick's number. I mean, simple as that, right? Since he's joined the SEC, so I'm taking A&M and another classic between these two. Listen, A&M's talent's getting there. A little slow start, but they're starting to get together, starting to play better football. So I'm taking the Aggies here in a close one. I think Milroe is going to struggle against what is always a fantastic A&M defense.
I do agree with you. That defense on Texas A&M was doing good. They had one bad game against Miami, but then bounced back really good since week 2, and they've been just running with the ball since, just running away with wins. Again, like Cole mentioned, had a little rough game because Arkansas, little hiccups there, a little bit of the yips, but still somehow managed to pull it off. And then this week, they will manage to pull it off and beat Bama.
Ooh.
And yeah, Bama is starting to get, people are starting to see the holes in Bama's offense and defense, and that's why Bama losing more than usual this season.
All right. Oh man, this is another one to where I've been kind of going back and forth all week. I mean, it's hard to pick against Nick Saban. It really is. And very few coaches, like Chooch was alluding to, have this type of a win-loss record against Nick Saban, or at least a close game record. Last year was one play difference, and Alabama was able to stop them on the goal line, basically. I think Texas A&M wins this game, but it's going to be physical for 4 quarters, just punch after punch. But the reason why I give A&M the edge here is because Jalen Milroe reminds me a lot of Jaden Daniels. And if you saw last year's LSU Texas A&M game, Jimbo had the team ready. They did a phenomenal job of containing him. So I don't think the whole, old thing that a lot of people say about, oh, well, scrambling quarterbacks, they're tougher. He knows how to handle scrambling quarterbacks. So yeah, give me Texas A&M, and that offense is pretty good. I really love their wide receiving core as a whole, and they're one of the most underrated teams in the nation. So give me the Aggies. All right, moving on to the next one, we got a Purdue versus Iowa, which is a tricky game because it seems like whenever Iowa is heavily favored, Purdue destroys them. It's weird. But when Iowa and Purdue is close in terms of the spread, it's usually an Iowa victory, but closer. However, and that's what it is here, Iowa's a 2.5-point favorite at home in Kinnick. But be careful. Purdue's offense, very explosive at times, and Iowa's defense, they're pretty good as well. Now, the main question comes, can Iowa's offense hang around with Purdue and get a win? Will Iowa's defense be able to hold the bridge long enough to get this Cade McNamara and this Ferenz offense rolling and on the track? That's where it gets scary in this game. Chooch, what do you think?
So I didn't know this, but Purdue owns this rivalry.
Yes.
I didn't know they owned it by 10 games. They have 50 wins against Iowa, where Iowa has 40. Now, last year, Iowa won with an awful offense. With that being said, I think Iowa's going to win this one. I think Purdue hangs around for a bit. I don't think they're quite ready for a game like this yet with a new head coach, but I think Iowa wins this one. I just think they're a better team. Simple as that.
I'm gonna agree with Church here. I just think Iowa is a smarter team. They're not a team that will be like, oh, let's just blow out this team by 90 points and just walk away with it. They play smart. They don't play for points to like just go way past the opponents on the scoreboard. They go, okay, how can we play, how can we do better on this play? What should I have done? And then they keep on improving that throughout the season goes. So give me Iowa here beating Purdue.
All right. So Purdue is kind of like that weird team. They're kind of like the old Pitt of the ACC, if you will. I mean, Pitt's technically still there, but they lost their title because now they're expected somewhat to win. So what I mean by this is Purdue could come out and beat anybody any week. However, with that being said, they could come out and lose to anybody in any given week. They are just the most weird team in college football. With that being said, I think Iowa's stability of the defense, I think it can hold out, and eventually McNamara is going to get it involved with Eric All. He's just like I said in the preseason, man. He is just different. He is the next great Big Ten tight end, in my opinion. So I think him and McNamara hook up, and that opens up the running game to get going. And I just don't think Purdue has what it takes to win a game like this. So give me the Hawkeyes. It's going to be close, though. All right, moving on to the next one here. We got Wake Forest and Clemson. And well, with Clemson, we talk about how the mighty have fallen. This is the first year in a while to where we can genuinely say what is going on with Clemson. I know they've had 2 losses, 2 years ago, and last year didn't fully look like the same Clemson, but this year, this is kind of where the alarms are going off, especially if they were to lose to Wake this year. Wake, on the other hand, they're not too bad themselves. They only have 1 loss, and it came a week ago to Georgia Tech, but they have been slipping a little bit. They barely beat Old Dominion on the road. And then, of course, after that, just getting whammed by Georgia Tech 30-16. Clemson, on the other hand, they lost a heartbreaker at home to Florida State, and then on the road at Syracuse, they looked pissed off. They looked kind of like the old Clemson, and they destroyed Syracuse. With all that being considered, no scare in Vegas. They give Clemson a 21-point favorite in this one at home. Chooch, will there be a massive upset for the Demon Deacons? What do you think?
So I want to say Clemson's got 15 straight over Wake Forest, right?
Yep.
But as we all know, all good things must come to an end. Clemson's inconsistent play, inconsiderate to their fans, I guess, but is really going to bite this team in the butt when they play this Demon Deacons defense. But if Griffiths can not turn the ball over as much, Wake Forest wins this one. But I have to go Clemson. I think they bounce back, and like I said last week, they look like old Clemson. So
You give all these reasons like Clemson's not doing good right now. I'm gonna go with Clemson right now.
I am the master of the pump fake. Okay,
He is.
But yeah, I have to go Clemson as well. I think too many people are doing good right now on that offense to fail this game right now. Like Cade Klubnik is doing so good right now. 11 touchdowns with 2 TDs, and it's going into week 6. Like, Jesus. And then Will Shipley, Tyler Brown, Bo Collins. It's like too many people on this offense are working so hard and doing so good to not get this win in Wake Forest. So, yeah, go Clemson.
Let me put it to you this way in the most simplest way I can. Wake Forest has only scored that their biggest score this year is 37, which, that's pretty decent. Clemson's is 66. That's kind of a major difference in my opinion. Yes, I know the teams were a little different, but not really. I mean, it was Elon versus, Charleston Southern. With that being considered, I think Clemson is laser focused, and I think this offense has a field day on the Wake Forest defense. So yeah, give me Clemson at home. Not to mention they shut me up a week ago when I picked Syracuse. So I'm not that dumb. I'm not doing it 2 times in a row. Give me Clemson.
Yeah, but now you're going to get bit for this one, and Wake Forest is going to win.
I swear.
That's how it works when it's like this. You know that.
Stop saying it.
Not to mention 3 across the board there. Let's hope Wake Forest doesn't see this show.
Well, yeah, that's what it's like every time LSU wins. We go 3 across the board.
No,
That
Well,
is true.
LSU loses.
it's like every time we talk about an NFL team, they've listed somehow either hurt us or like it's been a thought somewhere and they've worked on it. So maybe it's going to happen in college. Who knows?
We'll see. Speaking of we'll see, we will see how Syracuse responses after that ass kicking they took at home as they travel into Chapel Hill to take on the Tar Heels of North Carolina. North Carolina's a 9.5-point favorite, and everything is clicking for the Tar Heels, undefeated, and I mean, pretty convincing too. They really haven't had too many struggle games this year. With all that being considered, and again, be careful with this game. Syracuse coming off of a loss, their first one of the season. Could this be the time? Maybe they figure out Drake May. Maybe they have some tricks up their sleeve. Maybe they shock this line, Chooch.
So Drake May gets Tez Walker back. North Carolina gets Tez Walker back this week. He's eligible to play. So I think North Carolina handles their business, and the Orange are hanging around for a little bit. And North Carolina's offense is like, yeah, we're just kind of tired of this, so we're just going to score and score and score and score and score. Listen, Mac Brown, that defense is finally starting to do something a little bit. So I'm taking the Heels, baby.
Yeah, I have to agree. UNC is going to destroy Syracuse, and I'm putting it lightly. They're going to get destroyed. It's not going to be close, I don't think. Like, Omarion Hampton is a beast right now. He has 7 touchdowns and 383 yards. And plus Drake May being Drake May, he does have not good touchdown to interception ratio with 5 TDs, 4 interceptions. But this receiving core does not let that down with J.J. Jones and Nate McCollum. This offense is just too good. Great running back, 2 great receivers, and a pretty solid quarterback. What can be any better?
I mean, what else do I say? Tar Heels by 100. I mean, I think
well.
Syracuse will score on their first possession, and then North Carolina runs away. They're
going to do that thing. They're like, all right, we played with our food.
They're just everyone's sitting there stretching their quads, like, all right, we got it.
Time to actually play. Let's go.
Oh, okay. Now? Oh, okay.
It's kind of like in Rocky 4, if you guys ever seen that, to where Apollo like starts out and he's just punching Drago, and then all of a sudden the trainer for Drago is like, kill him, and then he just kills him. That's what this game's gonna be like.
By the way, I totally did not do those stretchings as like a bit just to actually stretch. Totally did not.
This was the bit.
Yeah.
Well, these
grunts are an exaggeration.
Speaking of destruction, that is what many think this next game is going to be. Vanderbilt's goes on the road to take on the Florida Gators. And this is the 3 o'clock kickoff. Florida got absolutely smacked by Kentucky a week ago. They did not look in sync whatsoever. And with Vandy, the story really doesn't change except for the team. Missouri had their way with them. Both teams need this victory. I'd say Sunbelt Billy and Florida need it a little bit more than Vanderbilt. But keep this in mind, folks. Vandy against Florida has a tendency to either be closer than it normally should be, or Vanderbilt pulls an upset in this type of game. With all that being said, though, Vegas, they don't care. Florida's an 18.5-point favorite in the Swamp. Chooch, is it madness, or will Vandy have a shot in this game?
I think Vandy has a chance, but I think it being in the Swamp this year kind of changes the perspective. I think Sunbelt Billy's playing better at home, but Vanderbilt keeps this one close. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they win. But I'm going to take the Gators in a close one. I think they win it last second. I think Graham Mertz is starting to play better quarterback. Can we agree on that?
Yes.
He's finally starting to come into his own now, which is nice to see because the kid's got talent. Actually, watching his game a couple weeks ago, he was throwing the ball. I think it's to say this last week I wasn't here, but watching him a couple weeks ago, kid was just dicing it up. Looked real good. And I think it's more of the same here, but I think Vanderbilt's running game is going to be the problem here for Florida. I think Vanderbilt's got an incredible run game, so it's just going to be a closer game than people think. But go Gators.
Now, I agree with you on one thing, that it will be close, but we have a different factor coming in. I think that Vanderbilt will be winning this game, and the run game that you said is pretty unstoppable right now. And it's going to be way too much for Florida's defense to handle. They're going to play murder ball all night. They have two really good running backs, so just alternate them. Just keep on alternating them. Plus, they have pretty good third and fourth ones to throw in whenever they'll both two get tired. Patrick Smith and Cedric Alexander is the main two I'm talking about. Plus, this receiving core is so good. Will Shepherd. Do I have to say anything else? Will Shepherd.
I hate this guy.
443 yards with 32 receptions and 7 TDs. Will Shepherd is amazing right now.
So
that's going to be way too much for Florida to handle. I'm taking Vandy. And Cole was probably going to bring up Will Shepherd.
Yep. I think it's going to be Vanderbilt's balance that wins this game. It's going to be that running attack that sets up the deep routes for Shepherd in this wide receiving core. Give me Vandy upset in the Swamp. And I hope in Florida, I just want to say this, if that happens, which I think it will, please don't fire Sunbelt Billy yet. Give the guy more than 2 seasons. He is turning your program in the right way. It just takes time. Please be patient with him. That is my ask. All right, next game here. UCF, after getting hammered last week by Kansas State, finds themselves in a game against Kansas, who, ironically enough, we're going to use that term again, got hammered by Texas. And excuse me, I'm going to I messed up here a little bit. Their last game for UCF was Baylor, and they got upset there. So wasn't quite a hammering with that Baylor game, but still, you lost to Baylor when everybody thought you had a for sure win on your hands. Kansas, on the other hand, you can't be mad at Kansas, okay? Nobody suspected them to be in the top 25, continuing major momentum, and not to mention, their starting quarterback was out. Bean had to take over and run an offense that was missing their main guy. So with all that being considered here in Kansas, UCF is a 2-point road favorite. Chooch, both of these teams need a bounce back. Who gets it?
So the Gus Bus out there in Orlando is doing very well for itself, isn't it? But but you're 0-2 in the Big 12. We kind of expected you to struggle a little bit in conference your first year here. But you spoke of balance last game. Look at Kansas's balance here. Yardage wise with the starting quarterback and the running quarterback. I know you said he got hurt last week. Jalen Daniels got hurt. But Jalen's got this. This offense is 223 and 199 a game total, rushing and passing. Well, passing and rushing, I should say. This team's good. I think the balance is going to throw off UCF here, and Kansas wins this one. And they're a very fast team. Kansas is a very fast team. They've always been a fast team, and I think that pays dividends here. They're kind of the Louisville of the Big 12. Rock Charge Hawk.
All right. I think Georgia's going to take this win, and it's not going to be like, oh, well, no, Georgia's going to win.
Georgia?
What?
Georgia?
What? Georgia.
Wrong game, bud.
Why am I talking about Georgia?
We jumped the gun here a little bit.
I'm tired,
UCF,
man.
Kansas.
Well, okay. Well, so we know Pizza's next pick then.
Yeah. All right, yeah. That is my bad. I'm going Kansas, though. I'm way too tired. But this Kansas team is just going on a tear right now. They did lose to Texas, but that's not something to gripe over. Oh man, we lost to Texas. Not Texas is a really good team. So UCF, good team to bounce back to after taking a loss. Yeah, go Jayhawks.
All right. So just so everybody knows, it's still a question on who the starting QB is, and of course, we're 2 days out, so we don't know for sure. But I'm gonna say, in good faith, it doesn't matter who quarterbacks Kansas this game. UCF, they're just on a downward spiral, and I think it continues and gets worse there in Jayhawk Nation. So give me Kansas here in a win. All right, now on to the next one here. We got a SEC East matchup, second one on the docket here, as the Kentucky Wildcats roll into town, into Athens, to take on the number 1 undefeated Georgia Bulldogs.
I wonder if you guys know what my pick is.
That was hinted a little bit. With all that being considered, though, Georgia's a 14.5-point favorite. Not a lot of respect for Devin Leary in the Cats, but this was a familiar situation a week ago against Florida. Nobody gave Kentucky a shot, and they dominated the Gators at home. It is a tougher place to win in Athens than obviously being in Kroger Field, but Georgia struggled a week ago in Jordan-Hare against Auburn, and they're not looking like the Georgia of the past 2 years. A lot of offensive worries, some defensive worries. If there was ever a time for Kentucky to pull off a major upset like this, it would be right now. Chooch, will it be right now?
So I wasn't here for the show last week, but Cole and I, we talked before, and I said Hugh Freeze is going to coach really well with Kirby, and this is the game that he was going to prove it. And was I wrong? Hugh Freeze coached that Auburn team well over its talent, well over its level, and that just proves how great the coaches are in the SEC now. Guys at your top tier schools are top tier coaches, and they're proving it. That being said, I think Kentucky just a little slow out the gates here in Athens. I think Georgia's defense is still good, really good. I think Kentucky starts off a little slower than Georgia. They fall behind by one possession. They can't get it back, and that's what this game is. One possession, Georgia taking over.
I wonder who Jacobs got. Wait, we can't hear you. I don't.
Yeah, as I said before, I'm going to go Kentucky with this one. No,
What?
I'm joking. Georgia's going to take this one. That's what Georgia does, though. As you mentioned, they didn't play good last week. Georgia gives this false hope. Oh, they weren't doing that good last week, and we can take this win. We just have to poke the holes in their defense and offense. And then Georgia comes back and just kills all the hope right there. So Georgia is going to be Georgia and take this win.
Man, how can you pick against Georgia, right? I mean, you got two people picking Georgia. You got Carson Beck, you got Kirby Smart. They haven't lost a game in God knows how long. SEC title game against Alabama. That was their last loss. I mean, how can you pick against that, right? They're at home. They got a dog as a mascot. I mean, they got everything in Georgia, except for an experienced, seasoned quarterback. I'm going with the Cats. Upset alert here in Athens, and Kentucky makes a claim for that SEC East. Mark Stoops has been waiting for a moment like this, and this is finally when he takes it.
You're horrible.
Kentucky. I had to hit a little head fake, okay? It's been a while. All right, moving on to the next one here. We got another Big Ten matchup. If I say another, I mean, of course, the whole show, obviously, not Kentucky, Georgia. Michigan heads on the road to Minnesota, and Michigan is an 18.5-point favorite. Minnesota's struggles is their offense. I mean, they have been incredibly inconsistent, sometimes just even downright disappointing when it comes to that. Michigan, though, they look like a runaway train. I mean, nothing seems to phase this team. They seem to just be in a groove right now, and quite frankly, they could be the best team in college football. We don't know necessarily until they win a huge game. All indicators say Michigan should have no trouble in Minnesota, an 18.5-point favorite. Chooch, are you going to give the Golfers and PJ Fleck some hope, or is it just going to be Harbaugh and Michigan dominant?
I'm going to give them hope for the first half. Maybe halfway through the third, Michigan's going to do their thing. Michigan's too good, man. I don't know what Harbaugh's got these boys eating and doing before games, but it's working. I don't know what he's telling these guys when they come out there, but whatever it is, it must really hurt their feelings because, hold on, let me count it here. We got, I just pressed the button. Sorry, give me a second, folks. Oh, no! No! Hold on, I got to bring the game back. I pressed the button on my mouse, sorry. Anyway, listen, Michigan's good. I'm not going to sit here and deny that offense is fantastic. They've allowed 7 points. Ready? The first game, the second game, the third game, the fourth game, and last week.
Wow.
They've only allowed 7 points. Hold on.
In total, they've only allowed 30 points so far.
Yeah.
And for the whole thing, for the whole season.
Yep. So
not only do they have amazing offense, they have amazing defense as well.
Exactly. But they're going to, I mean, also, the only two teams that really played were Rutgers and Nebraska. They always house Rutgers, and they should house Nebraska. So I'm taking the Wolverines here, though. Wolverines.
All right. I'm going to take Minnesota with no.
That one was cool.
If you see me go against anybody other than Michigan, that's not me. Michigan is going to absolutely destroy Minnesota just the same way that they've been destroying every single piece of competition that has been brought to them. Just hounding at other teams. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be bloody, and it's going to be really messy. Go Blue.
Listen, this is normally the point in the show where I give Michigan's opponent a little bit of a false boost and push them up and say, hey, they got a shot. No, not this week. PJ Fleck, I love you. I think you're a good coach. You're just in a very poor situation at Minnesota. So with all that being considered, Michigan continues to just run over teams. And this game won't be close, folks. It won't even be first quarter close. It won't even be 5 minutes into the game close. Yeah, Michigan, huge. All right, next one here, we got quite an interesting one. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish flies into town to take on the Cardinals of Louisville, and Louisville's undefeated. Shockingly, they had a very scary struggle on the road last week against NC State, but they were able to pull it out late. Notre Dame, on the other hand, they've had their fair shares of, they might be legit, and then they had that loss to Ohio State, and then they had a heroic showing by Sam Hartman in the offense. able to pull that one out late against the Duke Blue Devils at Duke. So this game, probably one of the most even matches we're going to talk about. Notre Dame's a 6.5-point favorite on the road. That seems to be a common trend. Not a lot of respect for Louisville and what Jeff Brom is building there. And this would be a huge, enormous win if Louisville were able to pull this game out. Also, can we fix the graphic on the bottom, please? Thank you.
My bad. I clicked it and it didn't work. I was like, oh yeah, it's there, and then I just went to another tab.
Ayo, technology.
All good. Chew do you get?
Listen, can I just say something about Sam Hartman for a second?
Sure.
Go ahead.
About what you did last week with Riley Leonard. If there was ever a way to be a Notre Dame, like, the image that Notre Dame portrays for its players, that was Sam Hartman last week. And, another notch in the book of why he's such a fantastic player and leader. That being said, I think this Louisville offense is going to give Notre Dame fits. I think this is the best offense they've played all year so far. So Louisville's got a hell of an offense there. And listen, I think they win a close one.
Louisville.
Upset?
All right. I have to go with Notre Dame. Like, Notre Dame is just so good. And I forgive you for losing to Ohio State. It happens, unfortunately. But Sam Hartman is just so good. He has no interceptions and 14 touchdowns. Only getting sacked 6 times so far. It's insane. Plus Audric Estime. Oh my God. 672 yards. Are you kidding me? With 95 carries. That's incredible. Easily one of the best running backs in college right now. Like 100% one of the best. If not it's the best running back. Plus you got Mitchell Evans, Chris Tyree. Like, the list goes on and on of this offense, and the defensive side of the ball does not let you down either. Notre Dame takes this against Louisville.
Man, this hurts. This hurts. I've been riding with Louisville all year. They're a good team, really good coach. Jeff Brom's done a tremendous job, but the magic ends this week. Sorry, Louisville. It pains me to say that. I love the story that has been going on with the program, but ultimately victory for Our Lady in Notre Dame. So give me the Fighting Irish. Sam Hartman in company is just too much for a young Louisville team like this. I didn't want to do it.
Hey, I love Louisville too, but we gotta be honest.
Right. Yeah, that's.
I was honest though.
That's true. That is true. Speaking of honesty, I think it's time that we should have a little honest session here with Sam Pittman in the Arkansas Razorbacks. That chair is hot after last week losing to Texas A&M in the fashion that they did. People might start talking about, hey, we need somebody new. Pittman is not the answer. He had a few standout years. It's time for him to go. And their road just got really tough as they run into Ole Miss, who is an 11.5-point favorite in the Grove after their win against LSU last week. Man, every sign is pointing Ole Miss. They keep it going. They're going to be tough in the SEC West. They might even win the SEC West if they continue this rate. Lane Kiffin does have a consistency issue when it comes to continually winning in the SEC, though. Keep that in mind. Chooch, will it be a time for Sam Pittman to rally the wagons and pull an upset here, or is Lane Kiffin and that Ole Miss team just too good?
So I have the pleasure of knowing a few Arkansas fans, as Cole knows.
Yep.
Their saying is, amen, we're just used to Arkansas football. No fan base should say that. We're used to the disappointment. No fan base should be able to say that. This is a school that was fantastic at one point. This is one of the best schools at literally any other sport but football. This is that school. This is like, one of them schools are like, this is a top-tier program everywhere you go. Why can't the football team be like that? Pittman was supposed to be your savior. What's he doing? He's just wasting. He's wasting KJ. He wasted Traylon Burks and KJ. Choke that away. But listen, the Land Shark, the Land Train, all the same thing. They're gonna bull train their way through this Arkansas team. So I'm taking the Rebs.
All right. After what we saw last week and how embarrassing how much Ole Miss can embarrass a team, and how mad the fans of a team that Ole Miss can beat can get, I think Ole Miss does a lot. Is doing a lot so far in this season. You know, beating LSU, such an accomplishing feat, and you know, they did it pretty easily too. They did like pretty good as well.
Mm-hmm. He's really laying it on thick.
Did we watch the same game?
I'm joking. But yeah, and actually, Ole Miss is gonna destroy Arkansas. I'm sorry, Arkansas. You aren't as good. All right, your team is just not as talented. And yeah, Ole Miss is gonna destroy you. Sorry.
Arkansas, I gave you a chance a week ago against A&M. I was the only one on set to give you a chance, and you blew it. And I'm not giving you another chance. Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin destroys Arkansas. And this game will be over at half. Ole Miss wins by 24.
Only?
24 only.
You sure? You don't want to go higher?
No. 24 is high enough. Jackson Dart will have that team rolling. And the defense, that's why it's closer, is just the Ole Miss defense. They're not good, but they will be good enough to defeat Arkansas. There's no question.
All right.
All right, moving on to the next one here. We got Fresno State taking on Wyoming, and Fresno State is ranked. They're undefeated, not a lot of national coverage. Nobody really seems to care. But these are two teams that combined, they're 9-1. So I care. I will say that. Fresno State is a 6-point favorite here, and they seem to have their heads on straight. Their quarterback, Keenan, 14 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, over 1,400 yards already. And they've been doing it through the air and on the ground. They've been sharing the love. They look pretty convincing. And their defense, get this, pretty good outside of the Eastern Washington game where it went to 2 OTs. Wyoming, on the other hand, only one loss, and that came 31-10 in DKR against Texas. But ever since that point, they've been finding wacky ways to win games, especially at home, which this game is for them. Could we have another Cowboys upset this season right here against the Bulldogs? What do you say, Pete?
So for those of you who don't know, they're like, why should we care about this game? You know the criteria when Cole and I go through and pick games? What happened last week? How's both teams? There's a lot of criteria we go through when we pick games.
Yep.
But not just rankings. This one caught our eye. Wyoming came back and beat Texas Tech at home, first game of the year. Right?
Yep.
And like Cole said, since that not double overtime, that loss to Texas, they've been finding ways to win it. App State, a better team than people think, and a 9-point win against New Mexico. Not a bad win, but Fresno State, like you said, this offense is impressive, man. They're spreading the ball around. Everyone's getting love. The quarterbacks are killing. Quarterback Keen's killing it, and I'm just gonna say it here. Gilliam, kid's a fantastic running back. There's a lot of plus sides to this Fresno State team. So I mean, Wyoming keeps it close, but Bulldogs in the end.
Jacob?
They are going to keep it close. I agree with that. But later down in the fourth quarter, maybe early fourth quarter, Fresno State Bulldogs are going to head. They're going to run the ball a lot to kill the clock with Elijah Gilman, and they're going to edge this one out. It will be close. I think it will be around like the 30s or 40s scoring points. Fresno State Bulldogs will edge this one out. take this W.
All right. I'm going to say that this game goes to overtime because Wyoming ties it late. And everybody in that stadium's going to come alive. We're going to have some OT fun. It's going to go a few OTs. But Fresno State gets it done on the road. It's going to be one play that just Wyoming could not cover. And that's going to be the story. One play is going to separate both of these teams. They are both that good. So give me the Bulldogs, but incredibly close. All right, next one here we got an ACC battle. Georgia Tech goes on the road to Miami. Miami undefeated. I did not think I would say that at this point in the season. They're a 20-point favorite, but watch out. Georgia Tech comes in. They have that win over Wake Forest, and then with all that momentum, they fall off of a cliff and lose to Bowling Green at home 38-27. How do they respond after getting their heart ripped out by Bowling Green? That's why Miami is such a huge favorite at home. They look pretty good. They look in form. Tyler Van Dyke's been the main story. 11 touchdowns, 1 interception, and over 1,000 yards to this point. Be careful, though. Georgia Tech occasionally pulls out a game like this. Look at a few years ago when they ended up beating undefeated Florida State in a very similar spot. What do you say, Chooch? Maybe it upset Yellow Jackets?
Is there on this panel? I don't think there's a bigger supporter of the Yellow Jackets.
No.
But I'm going to buy into the hype of the Hurricanes just a little bit, like we never do on the show. I'm going to buy in just a little bit, just to see if I can prove myself wrong here. Right? I'm taking the Canes in a very, very close last-second field goal game. Canes.
Okay. Listen, Georgia Tech, as you mentioned, it's been so on and off. The little record's only LWLWL, and if following the pattern, they should get a W here if they're going to follow the pattern at all. But that's not the main reason. The main reason is you can taste and smell the spirit in Yellow Jackets fans. You can smell, and it's not just onions and gumbo. It's the spirit that they have in this organization and this college football team. They believe that they can beat Miami, and I will also believe that they can beat Miami. Let's go Georgia Tech. Let's go Yellow Jackets.
All right. Georgia Tech, they're the new Pitt, as I was bringing up. They are so weird right now. They can beat anybody. They could lose to anybody. This is strictly a pick because I don't like Mario Cristobal and I like Haynes King. That's it. Georgia Tech wins this game because I'm telling you, Miami fans, if it's not this week, it will happen. I'm telling you, Mario Cristobal is not a good coach. And you guys are going to find this harsh reality either this week or in a week coming up. And I think this is the week where Haynes King gets it together. This Georgia Tech team rallies and they get a massive upset in Hard Rock. So yeah, give me Yellow Jackets. All right, next one here we got a Pac-12 battle, and late night at that, 9 o'clock Central Time, and it's kind of the signature Pac-12 style. Oregon State only one loss, and it came to Utah.
Very close.
Or no, excuse me, Washington State, not Utah. They beat Utah last week and ended up storming the field in Corvallis. Cal, on the other side, they've been kind of on and off. They played Auburn close, lost. They got bodied by Washington. I mean, that's part of the course this year. Washington's really good.
Yeah.
And then last week, they bounced back and they end up beating Arizona State. The trend, and especially in these late night games, is they usually play close. They usually play whoever they're playing tough, minus Washington this year, like I said. And with all that being considered, Vegas kind of takes that even a little bit into account here. Oregon State's a 9.5 point road favorite, but be careful about this Cal team. Chooch, where are you going in this?
So, like you said, Cal, I mean, they're playing better football. It's nice to see this program finally being something again, right? Um, that being said, Oregon State's riding high, and I think they overlook Cal a little bit, but at the end of the day, Oregon State's going to win this one. Cal keeps it close for a while, but Oregon State just prevails.
Yeah, this game is going to be very high scoring with very little defense coming. I'm not saying that they don't have good not every team has good defense, but it's one of those games where it's just like offense, 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 stop, 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 offense, off. It's going to be something. It's going to be something like that. I can already tell for some reason. But I think the good old Beaver here is going to edge it out with this one, either by a field goal or a late touchdown. Yeah, Oregon State.
Wow, we're looking at this completely different. I'm gonna go Oregon State wins it 6-3. It's
Okay.
going to be a defensive battle till the end, but Oregon State just does enough to win this game. But be very weary of this Cal team, especially at home at night. It's going to be very close and have some
Shoosh looks so worried.
Oh, are you okay? You said a Pac-12 night game is going to be 6-3. That's not Arizona State and Arizona.
I'm telling you, dude. I got a weird feeling about this game.
I mean, if it happens, I'll give you props.
You're usually right, so I'll take it.
Unless he says LSU's going to win. Moving on to the next game.
All right, let's get another Pac-12 battle here. Arizona goes on the road, another late night game. This one even later, 9:30 Central. And let's just say Arizona, kind of a wacky year. I mean, had some ups, beating UTEP, beating, Stanford by 1, which just was kind of a weird game. And then barely losing to Washington only by 7. And of course, their other loss came in overtime earlier in the year to Mississippi State. USC, on the other hand, they haven't struggled with any team, minus last week against Coach Prime, where they only ended up winning by 7. Colorado came back, almost pulled that one off. However, the experts don't seem very concerned. USC's a 21.5 point favorite. Caleb Williams' hype is still high as ever, but I'm going to urge you guys again. Nobody saw Washington having a close game with Arizona, but they did. Could history repeat itself? Could this game be close, or could Arizona even eke this one out on the road? What do you think, Juge?
So yeah, I think Arizona is going to keep this one close. I think it's a better team than people think it is. At the end of the year, they started playing a really good football. But with that being said, I just think the USC offense is too much for this Wildcat defense. So I think USC's offense prevails in this one. That's how it's going to be when you're Lincoln Riley. Defense ain't worth a damn, but your offense, yeah, we'll buy into that. And I'm going to buy into the offense here. Yeah, your defense is garbage, but I don't think Arizona's defense can contain your offense. So we shall see.
All right. So from what I seen last week of USC, I think USC letting up, was it like 41 points? I think
41.
it was. Yep. That was when USC realized, oh man, this is an actual offense that can score a lot of points on us. Like that's the only time so far this season that was actually getting a lot of points on them. Caleb Williams, though, this offense is backing up this defense heavily with Caleb Williams, just a beast. Honestly, 21 touchdowns with only 1 pick, which came last week against Colorado. And it's just insane, the things that USC is doing right now. first in Pac-12, 5-0, blowing out teams left and right. USC all the way. And again, I'm gonna say this every week. I feel like a Chiefs fan, just being like, we got Patrick Mahomes, we got Caleb Williams.
USC shootout late, 52-37. Trojans win. They Arizona's offense, they're not great by any regard, but USC's defense is that bad. I think Trojans obviously pull away, get the win, but it's going to be close there for a little bit. USC fans are going to be a little bit scared, but ultimately they'll pull it out.
Yeah, that was my assumption with this game too.
All right, now to the game that everybody's been waiting for, the Red River rivalry. The first time ever in the show's history that this was the final game, by the way. 119th time these two teams have met up. Can you believe that? 119. That is
too many
crazy.
times.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, you might as well, think, okay, we've seen enough of each other, we get it, we hate each other, but not with these two teams.
Let's
And,
part our ways now. Nope.
Yeah, exactly. So, all in all, Texas owns the series, 63 wins. They lost 50 times to Oklahoma, and there's been 5 ties between the two. And last year, Texas was able to snap the Oklahoma streak and get a win, and they are looking to continue their streak, making it 2 wins in a row against those guys in red that they don't like to talk about very much. Texas is a 5-point favorite, and for good reason. Obviously, Quinn Ewers has been the story of this Texas team. He's been slinging it. Xavier Worthy's been the main target for these guys. And the running game hasn't been bad in its own right. Over 190 rushing yards averaged for this team. Oklahoma comes in, though, and there's a little bit more respect than they've been getting in the last few weeks. Dylan Gabriel, 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, over 1,500 yards. And as for the running attack, kind of non-existent. We haven't really seen it a whole lot this year. Some people say this is a mass concern for the Sooners. They need to be able to run the football to win a game like this. Chooch, you get first crack at this big game.
So, listen, I'm happy this rivalry is back to what it was, right? Both teams ranked, both teams undefeated, both teams walk into the state fair ready. Man, I don't listen. There's rivalries in college football. I think this one tops the Ohio State Michigan one with how hyped it is and how good the games are. Jacob,
No.
I don't want to hear it out of you, Homer. I don't want to hear it out of you. I don't want to hear it. With the games, this might be a semi one-sided. Well, it's really not. It's actually more even than I think your poor Wolverines against the stupid Suckeyes.
Oh,
but Choklahoma is going to live up to the name Choklahoma. They're going to choke this one away, hook them horns 6-0, and continue to ascend under Sark.
I mean,
it's that for me.
How can you go against the Undertaker's team? How can you go against? I'm going to say this, and this might be a hot take. Texas probably has, if not one of the best receiving core in college football. Is that crazy for me to say?
I don't think so.
Because you got Xavier Worthy, Adonai Mitchell.
Stud.
Yeah, exactly. Jatavion Sanders.
Stud.
All these. And now, those 3 guys. The lowest one was Jatavion Sanders and 278 yards. How? Like, that's insane. Somehow a D lineman has 1 receiving yard. So if you want to take that into consideration, I don't know how, but you can find that. But this receiving team is just incredible. Probably the best receiving core in college football. Plus, you got Quinn Ewers and you got Jonathan Brooks. This is one of the most heavy hitting offenses I've ever seen, and Texas is going to destroy Oklahoma. Go Longhorns.
Texas, Texas, Texas. You know, that's been the theme, right? Texas ascending, as Chooch put it. They look good. But let's talk about the elephant in the room. Oklahoma. They've been playing really good. Brent Venables has this team looking right. Their defense has been a bigger story than anybody wants to admit. Texas is great. They've been playing tremendous football, but let's stick with the trend that always happens with Texas. They look unbeatable. They look great. And then boom, they meet the wall. And that is what's going to happen this time. I'm rolling with the Sooners. Oklahoma upsets in the Red River rivalry, and they snap the streak Texas has. Horns down. Oklahoma wins this one.
How dare you?
Chooch is disappointed.
Horrible. You're going against the Undertaker again.
I mean, I'm not surprised, Cole. I'm just
disappointed.
I'm let down.
I'm sorry, Texas, but you ain't back.
You know, every time you've rooted against Texas, it's been pretty bad for you.
It has. They're undefeated.
Just this year, though. Just this year. Every other year, it's worked for us.
All right. Well, I hope you all will enjoy your college football Saturday. I know I will be glued with all these great matchups. And let's close it out as we always do. God bless you all in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen. Have a beautiful, blessed rest of your day. And stay beautiful out there, you broken chairs.
All right. We are JCP. Goodbye, you beautiful broken chairs. We are out.